What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back with another episode of Qualified TV. Every guest has been a gem. I just want to give that disclaimer before we even get into it, and it's going to be no different this week. Got another amazing guest. I think this is the first actual basketball trainer that I've actually interviewed, so I'm personally very excited for this. But yeah, man, go ahead and let the people know who you are, more a little bit about what you do, and then yeah, we'll hop into the interview as we typically do. So yeah, man, go ahead, let people know who you are.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. My name is Nate Wickstrom, and I'm a basketball skills trainer based out of Milwaukee.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So are you originally from Milwaukee?
Nah, man. I'm from all over. So I was born in Phoenix,
Okay.
moved to Chicago, moved to Detroit, then moved to Milwaukee.
Okay.
So
So
I'm
oh yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
Midwest basically. But it's funny. People ask me if I'm from Milwaukee. I would say I'm from Milwaukee now because I've been here for so long.
Mm,
We moved here 2010, sophomore year of high school.
mm,
So, I mean, what, 13 years now? It's probably
yeah.
the most I've spent in one spot. So, I would say I'm from Milwaukee now.
Yeah. No, that's definitely real. So getting here, you said your sophomore year of high school?
Sophomore year of high
Sophomore
school.
year. So what was going on, like, in life at that time for you? Like, were you hooping like in high school? Was that part of the reason for the move here? Like, yeah, just where were things at for you at that time?
Ah, man, the reason for the move was uh, just family getting jobs out here. So we bounced around a lot, just different jobs, and finally landed here in Milwaukee. And it's actually funny. My high school coach in Michigan. We were looking for schools. We don't know the area, so we asked one of the few people that we trust, and that's my high school varsity basketball coach at the time, my freshman year. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about this good school. I know a couple people, Rufus King." So funny enough, he's like, "Oh yeah, go to King." And we tried our hardest to go to King, and it just didn't work. But yeah, it was now that we kind of know multiple people from that area. Like it was very close to happening, and then I ended up going to Shorewood. So played
Mm.
basketball in Shorewood. Ended up missing my senior year playing because I decided to play football, and I tore my knee senior
Oh,
year of football season. So yeah, but other than that, yeah. So when we moved, it was Shorewood High School.
okay, cool, cool. It's really interesting that you bring that up. So how did that feel in regards to like knowing that? Did you feel a particular way about missing out on your senior year because you kind of, I don't know if playing football was like a deviation, like if you had always played both sports, but like how did you feel about knowing that, like, dang, I'm missing out on my hooping season because I took this chance to do another sport, or doing this other thing that you may not have personally prioritized, but that's just kind of how the chips fell.
You know what? I didn't play football until my freshman year of high school. And then I hated it, Rock. I hated football and I wanted nothing to do with it. And then we moved. And then we moved in the summer, close to like maybe a month before school started. And at that time, the only thing like going on was football.
Yeah,
So I joined it just to kind of get to know people in the school sophomore year.
yeah,
And then I kind of liked it, and I was like, all right, I might stick with it. Like basketball is my, the main sport, but I might stick with football just to have fun because of those friendships that I made when I first got here. Um, and then after that, every year I was like, all right, I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna just focus on basketball. But every year I just kept liking it more and more. And then you fast forward to senior year, I tear my knee up, but because I'm just I've always been hard headed, so I play through it, mess the knee up even more, and then have to have PT surgery and all that like after football season. So miss senior year of basketball, and missing senior year basketball like sucked. But at that point in time, I'm like, I chalk it up. I'm like, well, cool. Like, I'm done with basketball. I'll go to college. I'll play football. So I committed to a school to play football because I thought basketball was over. And then at the very last second, I had a school reach out to me and say, "Hey, look, do you want to come play basketball?" So I jumped at the opportunity. At the very last second, I decommitted from the school I had committed to for football, and I went off and played basketball, and the rest is history.
Man, that's crazy. I want to before we get to the rest of that history,
Yeah,
it's funny that you had a situation like that because somewhat similar, but I played football was never really in the picture for me. That was just
yeah,
never a sport I was into enough to play. But
for sure.
I was really into baseball. And so I
Okay.
played baseball and basketball simultaneously, like up until about like sixth or seventh grade. Because for
Hmm.
basketball around that age and around that time, that's when it's like you start getting with certain programs and you start trying to figure out which high school you're going to go to. So it
Yep.
becomes a bit more time consuming, things like that, especially if you're on the AAU circuit. So when that happens, the AAU circuit like runs into baseball season. So I remember
Yep.
in middle school was when I kind of had to make that decision of like, all right, I guess I got to choose which one I'm a focus on. If one of them going to somewhat be like, year round. And so of course I chose basketball. And so get to high school and I didn't have no like interest in baseball. It was just I had a lot of like homies that played baseball. I had one homie that played all three. So like, he played football, we played basketball together, and he played baseball. So then I started like seeing a couple other people that was playing baseball, and it was like, this would be cool, or it would be cool like to hang with them and still play the sport that like I
Hmm.
like. So my junior year, I go out, for the baseball team. And so I joined and so I'm playing JV. And mind you, I ain't never had like a serious injury before this.
Fair.
So junior year, we in the spring, so it ain't terrible timing, but it's like the summer would have been the time where I would have like been trying to make an impression and ramp up for like basketball
Yep.
season. But like late in the spring, I end up essentially with like a um groin injury and
Okay.
some type of like bone injury, like in the groin area. I don't
Oof.
remember, like groin area. I don't remember exactly what it was called. But nonetheless, it wasn't that the injury itself was horrible, but the timeline of recovery just basically screwed me for basketball season. More so
Yep.
because, especially with being that king, how things really worked was like I wasn't a shoe in for varsity going into my senior year. So the summer, like that early fall, like that was an important time to like make this impression. But
For sure.
what wasn't fully healthy. And I know for a long time, I wouldn't say I kind of like blame that, but I definitely had this feeling of like, damn, like, did I ruin my basketball chance? You know, just taking a shot at baseball, not that it didn't matter, but I
Yeah.
know I struggled with that for a little bit, like early on, like going into senior year, and then like even still kind of afterwards, like after high school, just because I never really thought I had like that fair shot. So I was just curious if like you may have had like a similar feeling depending on how things panned out for you, but things worked out in your favor, of course, obviously. So what was the school that you ended up committing to? And then yeah, just take us through your collegiate journey, as an athlete.
So I played at UW Stout, and then I left after my freshman year. It just wasn't a good fit. Um, and I'm not going to name the school that I transferred to, but I was promised that if I transfer to this school, I would have, a spot on the team. And there was a teammate or a friend of mine who was playing at UW. I want to say he was at UW River Falls at the time. And so we were both freshmen, and he wasn't happy with his situation. And so we were chit chatting, and he was like, if you leave, I'll leave, and we'll go to the same school because the coach promised me the same thing, same spot. So we both leave. We tell the coach we're coming. It's D3, so you're not really signing letters of intent and anything like that. So um, we get to campus the very first day, and we show up, and we go to the coach's office, and he tells us, look, I appreciate you guys coming, but I'm gonna rock with my team that I have from last year. And so we had basically transferred, put all of our eggs in one basket, and he was like, "Yeah, cool. I'm cool on all that." So we were basically just set out. So I basically sat out my sophomore year, and then I had some family problems. I transferred out of there, came home, dropped out of school, and by the grace of God, bro, I had who my vet was at the time, my freshman year. Um, he put in word, had game film and practice film from that first year. He had gave it to one of his contacts overseas, and then they reached out. I got a tryout, so it's not the typical way that your career goes, right? Like usually it's 4 years of college. You know, if you're really cold, you're playing one or two, and then you're going to the league. But usually overseas, it's 3, 4 years of school, and then you go overseas. I went 1 year, sat out the second year, stayed in shape, sat out the third year, stayed in shape, and then got my opportunity and got a tryout and made the most of it. And the rest is history after that, man.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, keep telling us about that history. So where did you end up going overseas and playing?
So I played in London, England,
Okay.
which is my first year, which is, I mean, probably the easiest introduction to overseas life, right? Like it's
Yeah.
they speak English, they speak the same language. Only difference was like the food, and that took a little getting used to. But then after that, my second year go round was Spain, and beautiful city, beautiful people, great culture, and then tore my Achilles, and then I was kind of the wrap. That was kind of it for me. So 2 years, and then there was a long list of injuries that came back to haunt me after that. And I tried, bro. I tried my hardest to fight back, and it wasn't in the cards for me. So I kind of sat down and had to really think about like what I'm gonna do next. And I didn't know what I was gonna do next. And I thought it was gonna be personal training. Actually, I thought it was gonna be personal training. And so I got my certificate and like everything in personal training. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'll stay around the sport of basketball. I'll train the athletes in the weight room. So I had trained a couple football players, um, and a couple basketball players in the weight room. But then like I I wasn't really feeling it. I'm like, this is like yeah, cool. Like it's easy money and like I know what I'm doing. It's easy. But there was no like passion. You know what I mean? Like you got to have
Yeah.
a passion for what you want to do. Um, and then you fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hits, the world kind of shuts down, um, and I have these 2, 3 players reach out to me about training them on the court, basketball stuff. And you know, at first I'm like, do I want to do it? I was like, I got nothing else to do. I was sitting at the crib, so might as well. And so I go do it, and I walked away from it like, bro, this is so much better than training people in the weight room. This is like it's like being back out on the court. Um, and yeah, man, I found so much more love in helping somebody else become better at their game than I think I ever did playing a game of basketball. And don't get me wrong, we all love the game of basketball. We're all passionate about it. We're all, you know, we love the game. We play the game. We play it hard. But I almost got more joy out of helping people, you know, get to that next level or get better at their craft than I ever did playing. And that's when I realized I've arrived. This is where I'm supposed to be. And the man, yeah, and then that's how it all started. That's how the basketball training started.
Man, no, that's honestly it's a beautiful transition to hear because I feel like I was initially gonna ask, how did you when you talked about like, trying to fight back and like trying to come back, I was trying to come back. I was originally gonna ask like how you dealt with like that passion. Cause like as somebody who loves the game and loves to play as
Yeah,
well, I feel like I quickly kind of got to a space where I'm like, all right, like in high school, I realized like I'm not getting looks like, and even if I did try to attempt to go this JUCO route, like it don't really like it ain't.
yeah,
I had to understand it wasn't so much about my effort. It was just really like opportunity. And it was more so me understanding that that wasn't the only thing that I could do. So I feel like early on I kind of had the reality check of like you can find ways to be around, the sport and the game
Yeah.
and not play. But I can only imagine playing, having a level of success where you're able to play professionally and then had an injury bug hit like relatively early. And I didn't know if like you kind of had the what ifs, and stuff that bothered you.
Oh, I mean, of course, you always have those what ifs, like, but let's be honest, bro. I'm 6 foot on a good day. I'm white and I'm unathletic. Like I tapped out my athletic potential, bro. So I was very content. At the time, I was not very content. I was, like you said, I'm trying to fight back. I'm frustrated with it. Like, because at first I tear my Achilles, right? So I tear my Achilles. After that, I tear the three lateral ligaments in the same ankle. So it's my left Achilles. I fight back from that. We recover from that. We do all the year long PT, whatever it is, and then I tear three ligaments in the same ankle. So on that left side, I fight back from that. I get a stress fracture and an annular tear in my low back. We fight back from that. We go back to London. We try out for a team again. And then I realized during that tryout, that's when I realized I said, Nate, you are old, you are white, you are unathletic. Sit your ass down and go home, bro. Like I didn't have it anymore. Like I tried and I tried for those 3 years. Those 3 years were like, the first injury, depression kind of sits in for a second, you know, but then at some point you got to just pull yourself together and like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get back on it, and then you do it, and then the second injury hits, and you're like, dude, like, what are we doing? And then you fight back through that, and then the third injury hits, and you're like, brother, what? And then you fight back from that, and then you realize, all right, you know what, you ain't got it no more. Don't, just sit down, go home. So I got on the next flight, and I went home, man, and I was like, yeah. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and like I said, I thought it was gonna be personal training, but luckily, luckily, not luckily, but the pandemic hit, and I had some people that reached out to me. The Gentry brothers, they went to Brown Deer High School.
Mm.
Jay and Jalen, and they were in Sadiq Hayes. So those three guys, those were my first clients, and I owe them, bro. I didn't know what I was doing. I owe them the world. I was out there, man. When I look back at it, and I think I got some footage still, like it's just laughable. I don't know what I'm doing out there. I'm just putting them through drills that like coaches put me through, or stuff that I picked up maybe overseas or in college or in high school, and yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, man. But I owe those three guys like everything that I have today. I owe them the world because without them, without their belief, I don't get my next three clients, and then my next three clients, and then my next three clients. If they don't keep believing me after that first session, you know, it's one and done, and I go right back to not knowing what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, no, I was definitely going to speak to like just that transition in general. And I know I said that I felt like it was a beautiful transition to begin with, but not a lot of people fall into it kind of that easy. Like you said, you didn't know what you were doing, but the joy you found in realizing what you were doing for other players. I just think that's beautiful because I don't think a lot of people always have the patience and the tolerance to really like teach the game.
Oh, bro.
And sometimes I also feel like I think the generation now doesn't study the game the same, doesn't see the game the same. And not that that's a negative, it's not like a right wrong, but
Nah,
to
you can
be in
say
a
it, but that's
space
what
to be in a space to be able to still teach the fundamentals correctly and to convince younger players that all these things that you kind of naturally excel at that people haven't before you, just imagine how great like you'll be when you actually add the things that everybody needs and that all the greats have, and then you
Yeah.
just build on that. So I was going to ask you to speak more about like how did you really develop your like training regimen? Like how did you go from not knowing what you were doing to like, okay, how am I building out how I want to develop these players if they
Yeah.
used to be
I
clients.
mean, the same way that I owe my success to my first three clients, it's the same way that I owe my success to uh, this basketball trainer named Peter. He lives down in Kansas City. So he trains the University of Kansas. So he lives in Lawrence. He trains the University of Kansas basketball players. He's super big on Instagram, super big on social medias. His Instagram is 90-10 training. So you've probably seen a lot of his stuff because, House of Highlights reposts him and all that. So, but I didn't know what I was doing. I reached out to him. I just sent a DM. I said, hey, you know, my name's Nate I'm from Milwaukee. I'm just now starting. Like I swallowed my pride and I realized, Nate, you don't know what you're doing out here. Like, find somebody that does. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, like, is there any chance like we can chop it up? Like I can learn from you. And he said, he hit me back and he said, yeah, bro, catch a flight, come on down, stay with me for a little bit and come, intern with me for, a month or two. Bro, I was on the next flight out. I said, here I come. And like he didn't have to do that. If you look
Yeah,
at where he is at, man, I think he's, I don't know, I'm butcher this, but maybe 500,000 followers or something. Like
something like
he's
that. Yeah, I know
big
the
time.
page. So yeah,
He trains NBA pros. He trains, like I said, big D1 guys. Like he could have had this attitude about him, like this, been a little stuck up, but he hit me right back and was like, yeah, like could have left me on red. He was like, yeah, bro, come on down. Like, or he could, he could have hit me back with some generic, everything you need to know is on YouTube. Just look it up.
yeah,
He hit me back and said, I got to learn from him for, about a month. And when I flew back, it wasn't like he just ghosted me. If I had questions, I would hit him. And man, I owe a lot of my early on success kind of learning drills and attitude and demeanor on the court with clients and how to talk to clients and how to talk to parents from him. But then a lot of it, man, outside of him is just it's just trial and error. Like I gotta remind myself sometimes, like when I mess up, like it's only been 3 years, bro. 2020 was when I started, and like it's only been 3 years. So sometimes I gotta give myself grace, but it comes down to watching film, like
mm,
you said, watch the game, learn the game, and there's like just by watching the game of basketball, there's so much that you can learn, and whether that's like off the ball movement, you know. If you're watching a post player, you're watching footwork. If you're watching a guard, you're watching footwork. If you're watching, there's I could go on and on. There's literally endless amounts of things that you could just sit there and learn from watching the game. And I think it comes down to how you watch the game too. Yeah, I think just learning to watch the game and like how I watch the game. I go back to my vet when I was a freshman in college. His name's Chris, and till this day, man, I consider that man family. And he kind of guided me through, that first year of college, into the pro career, and then into training. And seeing how he watches film, he's always been able to break it down for me too. So he's been someone to lean on. He's had an illustrious pro career. Um, and he's still playing to this day. So he's somebody that he can break down the European game and he can break down film in a way that's very unique. So just reaching out to him and seeing how he does it has been huge too. So man, not being afraid to ask questions is probably the biggest thing.
yeah. No, I mean that's definitely that's fire that's a that was an internship opportunity that you had. That's definitely a
Bro,
page.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a page that I follow. And I've noticed that he like works with some big names, but honestly, he just makes a lot of very like relatable like training content. And for people, at least for me, for somebody that like really like loves the game and like knows the game, the way he's able to take how the game is seen and still give the
Mm-hmm.
perspective of what's really important, I think that fits this generation,
Yeah.
of
Oh, his social media skills are crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's amazing. So that internship opportunity in itself is fire. But then also you kind of brought up a really good point. Do you ever feel like how much conflict do you feel from the business side of what you do, but also like the passion in what you do? Or do you feel any like conflict at all in regards to the different hats you may have to wear in terms of how you have to prepare to deal with people as clients, but also know that you love the game that you're teaching and you love teaching it, if that makes
You
sense?
know, I haven't found anything like that, like any conflict. I tend not to sugarcoat things, and I think that my clients kind of appreciate that. And I'll tell them like, look, man, this is how the game of basketball is played. This is how we're gonna like teach it, and I don't even think it's sometimes it's like the little kids who they just want to come in and they want to chuck up threes and half court shots and Steph Curry the ball before they even know how to dribble between the legs. But then a lot of it, I think, I deals like outside of that. When you get to the older kids, it's more so dealing with the parents
Mm,
and being able to sit down and like draw that fine line with the parent right away and just being like, hey, I'm the trainer. You're coming to me. Let me do what I need to do. Don't try to be coaching from the sideline while like we're in a training session, or don't try to tell me what to do my job. Like I'll ask if there's anything they want us to focus on, and then I'll go from there. But don't like I've got some parents that'll hit me up, hey, we should do this today. I'm like, bro, like you're coming to me for a reason. I know what the player needs done. Um, but yeah, there's not too many conflicts, man. There's not, but there's definitely been some a learning curve trying to just figure out how to navigate. Because, bro, growing up, there wasn't such thing as a basketball trainer for us.
yeah,
Like growing
facts.
up, basketball training was not a job. Growing up, man, training wasn't a thing, and now it is, and it's so there's been a learning curve for me. Like just there's not too many people you can kind of ask about things, and how to grow your business and how to charge clients. Like how much do you charge? When you're starting out, do you charge for free? Just to build the clientele. And I think that's where the conflict comes in, like just kind of learning how to grow the business. I think just giving yourself that grace throughout it kind of eliminates a little bit of that conflict.
Yeah, no, that's definitely real. And that's a great point. That's a great point. I'm glad you made it. I wanted to go back to something you kind of alluded to just in regard to like really helping players understand the game and see the game and see how the game is played in terms of like aggression as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's your responsibility as a trainer to like instill that or help them find that in some capacity? And if so, what are your like methods or what have been your experiences in trying to help a player with that, if that's something that they struggle with?
You know what? That's something I struggle with because growing up, bro, I was always like just the hardest worker. Like I can't tell you anybody that's ever outworked me on the basketball court, on the football field, in the weight room. Doesn't matter if who's running sprints. Like I just remember always being the hardest worker. And as far as teaching it, it's tough to teach it because like you have to. At the end of the day, I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself.
Yeah.
So like if I'm trying to teach you, a drill, and you just kind of like going through the motions and going super slow, like you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time, you're wasting your parents' time and money.
Yeah.
So like, but like you never had to tell me. That's what I'm getting at. So you never had to tell me to give 100% effort. Like, okay, coach, like this is what you want. Like, let's do it. Um, but it's tough to get the most out of kids in a one-on-one individual session as far as like
Mm,
that competitive nature that you're talking about.
yeah.
So like finding ways to, you know, compete. Like you have to go 5 out of 7 for this drill. Like, you know, make 5 shots, but now you have to make 5 out of 8. You got to make 5 out of 7. And now you got to compete a little bit. So we're not just going to sit up here, chuck up 20 shots and hope you make 5 of them, right? We're going to keep
Yeah.
doing this drill until you make 5 out of 8, you make 5 out of 7. And now there's a little bit of competition. Or if you're in a group, that's when you can really start to do it. Because now it's, hey, we're not going to rep this until you guys each make 10. It's the first person to 10 wins. So
Yeah.
first person to 10, they win that drill. They win that spot. We move on. If you got 0 makes, cool. Sucks to be you. Try harder next time.
Yeah.
Right? Or when we walk in on the day with bigger groups, we walk in on the day and we talk. We break it down the middle. We'll say, hey, today keep track of your wins. We're going to compete. Every single drill is worth 1 point. At the end of the day, we'll see who has the most wins. And right there, right from the get go, you already set the standard. I used to get so caught up into just drill. But once you drill it and you teach it, sometimes you just got to put them in environments where they can create on their own. So now you playing a short-sighted one-on-one game. Maybe the defense is at a little bit of a disadvantage, and you give the advantage to the offense, or you give the advantage to the defense and put the offense at a little bit of a disadvantage. Or maybe you make them play 1-on-2, 2-on-2, just off different, you know, pick and rolls, DHOs, and then just making them compete and then get creative in that. So like, you know, but just putting them in that competitive environment is probably the best way to get it out of them. And just sitting there and talking to them and being real, like, hey, look, like what you seeing on TV, like the flashiness, that's cool, that's great. But you gotta play defense. Kids don't want to play defense now because they scared they're gonna end up on a highlight film. But like you have to be a pest on defense. You got to be able to guard all 5 positions. You got to just be a pest. Like take pride in getting the team a 5-second violation. You know, get pride in getting them a backcourt violation, a 10-second violation. You know, take pride in your defense. And um, I think that just starts with, you know, energy in the gym, being loud, being supportive. You know, we do something that's called positive affirmation touches. So, you know, just getting high fives, and slaps on the back, you know, high fives, fist bumps, all that, like, and just saying, you know, hey, good job, hey, good job, and just rewarding them after things like that and telling them to compete. So, I think that's the biggest thing, man. Is I think with this day and age, you know, sometimes that competitive nature gets a little lost.
Yeah.
But learn that, hey, it's a good thing to compete. Like I think it comes down to a respect thing at the end of the day too. Like you gonna get out here and just gonna slouch in front of everybody else, or you gonna compete, you gonna make everybody else around you better. So I think it's a respect thing as well too. So
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. The first thing I want to touch on, you brought up pride, and that was going to be the exact thing that I said, because you can't teach pride. So
no,
especially in the realm of basketball and even in the realm of competition, like I cannot teach you how to have so much pride that you won't allow somebody to just win and be okay with it without putting up like some type of fight or some type of
yeah,
resistance to, like in competition, in battle. It's like if losing already is enough of a processing thing, I can accept that there has to be a winner and a loser, but like it's at least gonna take everything out of you to for me to lose. It's gonna take everything,
mm-hmm.
for me to lose, or else I'm going to win. And so it's just like you can't teach that. So I was happy when you brought that up, because it's like I think the pride aspect of it is, the like 50% of it, and that other 50% is respect. And it's funny because with Akers is the type of person where he will text me out the blue and say I can't guard him. Don't matter. We wasn't even talking about basketball.
That's Aaron's favorite phrase.
But it's funny because it don't matter if me and him both ain't like ran fives in 3 months. If we ever get
Mm-hmm.
out there and run fives and we on opposite teams, we at each other. If we on the same team it's been times where he'll be like, bro, you really not playing for real. Like, you pissing me off. Like, why
Yeah.
you chilling? You know what I'm saying? And there'll be times like, all right, let me get him out. My bad. You know what I'm saying? And we could do that
Yeah.
to each other, but it's that respect of like, yo, we out here, we trying to win. Like, you playing around, like, let's get this
You got to
seven
turn each
something.
other up a
Let's
little bit.
let's
Yeah.
let's get to 11. Like, he'll make it seem like, oh, you just gonna get cooked like that. Like, he'll get under my skin where it's like, but that respect of like, nah, like if me and you are on the court together, we gonna win. If we playing against each other, we both feel like we gonna
Mhm.
win at all, you know, at any cost in regards to the competition. So I definitely agree with that pride and respect aspect. And I think those are attributes that can be developed, but I don't think that if somebody just doesn't naturally have that desire to want to compete in
Mhm.
that way and want to be intense about it or be passionate about it, you can't make them, regardless what, you know.
It's hard.
Yeah, you can't force them into that environment, or you can't force them to respond to the environment in a way that they don't want to or they're not capable of. You know, so it's tough. It's really tough. Another question I had though, what are some positive trends in general that you're seeing in basketball training as a profession?
There's there's a new trend, and I wouldn't even call it a trend, but there's been more recently that I've seen about letting the players play. So like I was just saying, like we rep, you know, I'm going to go back to that dribble handoff situation, but if we have repped reads off of a dribble handoff, one on air, right? So you're just going off, I'm telling you, hey, you know, we're looking for this, boom, cool, we rep that. You know, we go into our next option off of DHO, you know, and we've done that and we've competed, we've got on first to 10. Now take it, that same exact thing you've been repping DHOs, and now rep it in a compete, like a way to compete, a way to make live reads, as opposed to me just telling you, hey, come off the DHO, take two dribbles and shoot. You've
Mm,
taught them a couple reads today. Okay, let them take those few reads that you've worked on and now rep them live. And I think I've been seeing a lot more of that lately, or a lot more what we call short-sighted games.
mm,
So, you know, maybe we're playing 2-on-2 off of a closeout. Maybe we're playing 2-on-2 off of a pick and roll. Maybe we're playing 4-on-5 off of pick and roll. Um, you know, and putting players in these short-sighted games where they can kind of just be creative and figure shit out on their own. So I think what I've seen more on, you know, Instagram and things is letting players kind of figure out things for themselves. You know, of course, like you have to be there, you have to teach it, but then giving them like fun, creative ways to like, you know, all be engaged and figure things out on our own. I've been seeing a trend more of that I really love, because man, when I tell you that the early trends of like, I would watch trainers and they would have players dribble through 1,000 different cones, doing like 1,000 different dribble moves, hezzy step back combos. And I'm like, bro, like, that's great, but what college coach is going to take you seriously if they walk in here and see this workout?
yeah,
Like you dribbling, like what's the point of dribbling through 25 cones right now? Or what's the point of doing a 25 dribble combo, snatch, tween, step back, oh, hezzy, tween, step, you know, like in a college game, you not doing that.
right.
Do you know how to lift out of the corner? Do you know how to shake up out of the corner? Do you know how to drift to the corner? Do you know your options off that? Can you hit the shake off a pick and roll? Do you know how to read a DHO? Do you know how to back cut? Do you know how to so like that little phase of like having kids over dribble and dribble through a million cones, like I'm so glad that, well, I can't say we're out of that phase, but I've been seeing less and less of it, and I'm very happy that we're seeing less of that. So
Even more so too, everything that we talked about, I was wondering, do you have a definition of like what personal development or training is? Like, how do you define that for yourself?
that's tough, man. how do I define that for myself? You know, there's really no, it's such a like, development is, can I see improvement?
Mm,
And not only can I see improvement in your skill, so like I've had this conversation with a couple clients, like, you might not be making the shot that you want to make right now, and you're getting frustrated, but do you realize the read you just made?
mm,
Like, I go back to like repping things 1 on 1, 2 on 2, 3 on 3. Like, you just made this perfect read that 6 months ago you would have tried to dribble right through that trap and you would have turned the ball over, right? But or you might have tried to dribble eight times too many, but you made a quick 1-2, boom, got out of there, came up into a pull up. You missed it, but you made the right read, or you came to this stop and it wasn't there. You used your pivot, you spun out, you pump faked again, got him in the air, you stepped through, and you missed the layup. Cool. Who cares, bro? Like, we're here to get better. We're here to make mistakes. One thing that we yell in the gym all the time is embrace the ugly. It's
mm.
gonna get ugly. You're gonna miss. You're gonna dribble the ball off your foot. You're gonna you're trying to go underneath your legs. The ball's gonna fly right through, and you're gonna miss your left hand, right? But if you're doing it at a more game speed and you're not walking through the motions, everybody looks good walking through the motions.
Yeah.
Can you go game speed? And when I say game speed, I don't mean 100 miles an hour the whole entire time, right? Play with pace, change your height, change your levels. But can you can you just try to challenge yourself a little bit more every single day and grow? One thing we always talk about is you can't grow inside your comfort zone, right? So you can
Mm,
either be comfortable or you can grow. And
mm.
if you're pushing yourself every single day, trying to be a little bit more uncomfortable and grow a little bit, the makes will come. That ball is going to go through the net eventually. Has to, just has to. You can chuck it up 100 times. It's got to drop in once.
Yeah.
But if you're making the right reads and you're reacting in a quicker manner, so like I'll get some people who come in and their reaction time is just slow. Like they knew what they were supposed to do there, but they reacted too slow. Now it wasn't there. That counter is closed off, and now you made it a little too late and turn the ball. Okay. Well, now how do we make that decision quicker? If we can start to train that, I don't care if you missed it. You know, you made the right read. You made it quicker than you ever have before. So like being able to show them those things. Like I record a lot of workouts and then being able to show them film on themselves. So not only do like if I'm trying to teach a move, not only do I watch the film, but I'll bring in my laptop and we'll sit there and we'll watch the move that I'm trying to teach. And they're like, oh shit, okay. Nate's not full of shit. He's trying to teach me this move that Damian Lillard's doing right here. Like I'm
Mm,
seeing it, I'm watching it. And then I'll record it and I'll show it to them. I'll be like, hey, look, this isn't why you're getting low enough. This isn't why, this is why you're missing the shot, yada, 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 whatever. And then, we go into gameplay. And then, they mess up. We go right back to the film. Like, hey, look, this is what you did. But like, why'd you do that? Like, what were you thinking here? What were you seeing? Like, I'm not going to tell you right away what you should be seeing. You tell me, what did you see? Why did you do that?
yeah.
And now we can talk through, hey, look, I get what you're saying, but that's not necessarily the right read here. Like, this is the right read. So try to do that when you see this. And then just, they're like, oh, but I think being able to see that back is huge too. But as far as, man, I got way off track. Oh my gosh.
It's
But
good,
yeah,
man. It's good.
development, man, it's a very gray area. It's a very big umbrella. And I think that um, just being able to improve, whether it's a kid's, you know, mindset or work ethic, or like we talked about earlier, competitiveness, or if it's their skill, but then skill just drops down to so many different things. So yeah, your shot might be off, cool. But like I said, look at your footwork. Your footwork is you used to 1-2 and then hop, or you used to only hop, or you used to step outside inside, and now you've got the right footwork down. Your timing of your pickup is happening at the same time as your feet. Everything's working in unison. The shot is gonna fall. We're not worried about that. So being able to break down to kids like improvement and development is so many different things than just makes and misses, I
Mhm.
think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that
That
I
was the longest. That was the longest winded answer probably anybody's ever given you, but that was
no.
yeah.
I honestly I don't think it is, but no, it's fine though because like that development aspect, there's so many levels to it and there's so many aspects of it. So I like that breakdown of what development means to you because development isn't just about skill because skill to a degree, if the effort is there, you'll get better at something through reps for
Facts.
the most part. But in terms of like, are you progressing and learning the game? That's where the reads come in and understanding, okay, this is why I wasn't able to make that read. How do I avoid putting myself in a situation where I don't make the wrong read, or in situations that I can control, how do I respond to missing a read or not being able to hit the first read? Like all those things as a
Hmm.
player and especially as a guard, where it's like those are things you have to learn. And it's not so much about not making mistakes, it's about knowing mistakes that are avoidable and knowing how to respond to
Yeah,
those that
and you
aren't.
can't,
So
bro. You can't grow without making mistakes.
yeah.
A mistake is just another opportunity for you to learn.
But yeah, man, no, we've talked a lot about your basketball journey as a player, as a skills trainer, and yeah, just your journey with basketball, from how you fell in love with it, from what you were able to do with it as a player, and how that transitioned to what you were able to do as a skills trainer. When you think about how you've gotten to where you are now and like what you feel like you offer and bring to the table as a skills trainer and the results you are seeing your clients have, what makes you qualified like as a trainer?
That's you know what? That's very hard, bro. Because sometimes you get so caught up. You get so caught up into just working, working, working that sometimes you fail to take a look back at everything you've kind of accomplished. And it's only been 3 years. And you know what? We've talked about him so far. Talking with Aaron, he does a really good job of bringing your accomplishments to light and talking about them. Like he's probably one of the most. What? How would I even like? I don't want to call him a cheerleader because like that sounds disrespectful.
Yeah,
But like he is like one of your biggest supporters. Like in anybody, he could know you, he could not know you. Aaron just shows love,
yeah,
and like sometimes it takes me talking to him to realize like damn, I'm kind of good at this like training thing. Like sometimes I don't really like realize how far I've come in 3 years, or like how many clients I've helped, or like who's played, like whose game I've improved. And then you talk to somebody like Aaron, and he's just like, thinks the highest of you, and he's always so energetic, and he's so he just shows love
yeah,
that sometimes you're like, oh shit, yeah, like I have done that. I do that. Um, and so sometimes it just it takes having somebody like Akers who is just shows so much love to like really realize, okay, you know, maybe like I shouldn't be so humble all the time. Like maybe I am like decent. I'm decent at this. Like I know what I'm talking about. Like I watch film, I work, like I put in the hours.
yeah,
So I think once you realize like how much work you put in and how much hours you put in, and you sit back and I take a look at where I've come from in just the short amount of time in 3 years, and all the players that I've helped, whether they be second graders or whether they're all the way up at the overseas pro level, and anywhere in between, it's like, okay, I've never once come across a player where I haven't been able to help them.
yeah,
Now I know it's only been 3 years, but I haven't met a player where I've been like, hey, look, maybe my training style doesn't work for you. Like maybe you should go over here and see him. Like maybe his training style work better for you. I've never had to have that yet, and I've only seen improvement. No matter how big or small, I've only seen improvement through anybody that I've come to the gym with. And I think when I look back and I reflect on that, and I reflect on how much work I put in, I think that that's where the confidence kind of comes from. And then I'm able to be like, hey, look, like yeah, I am a good trainer. Like I know what I'm doing. I put in the work. I watch the film because let's be real. Like you don't have to have played basketball at such a high level to be a good trainer. You just have to
Right.
know the game.
Yeah.
Like I didn't play in the league. I didn't play in the NBA, but I've watched a couple players that have played higher than me, who are better than me. I've watched them train. I'm like, oh, like I don't see anything special about it. I'm not hating, but I just don't see anything special. Or they become one of those trainers who you dribbling through 1,000 cones. I'm like, what are we really working on here?
Yeah.
Um, and I've had, I'm not going to name any names, but I've had a couple parents bring their kids to me from other trainers, or I've had clients like, college players, high school players come to me from other trainers, and they're like, hey, we just didn't like, what was going on over there, but we love it over here. Like, and so I think that kind of gives you a little reassurance, no matter, how much you might not think, that you're doing well, but when you sit back and like look at the grand scheme of things, you're like, oh shit, yeah, I'm kind of doing what I need to do, and I'm doing it the right way. I'm putting the players first, and I'm helping them, whether it's win a fourth grade state title, or it's make the varsity team, or it's sign a letter of intent and go play at college, or it's get that first pro contract, or it's get that next pro contract. I've really been able to help a lot of players from so many different levels that I definitely feel good about where I am as a trainer in just 3 short years. So
Yeah, no, that's an amazing answer, and I think it does. I think reassurance is a big thing, and it's hard because when you're kind of just when you're taking that road of just like really being immersed in the work, you don't do things for validation, but sometimes it's hard just having it's hard being affirmed and like what you're doing being
mm-hmm.
the right thing or being on the right path. So it's definitely a tough thing to balance. So the fact that you've been able to have those opportunities and be in that space where you're able to see and be reassured that yeah, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm having the right impact and I know I'm doing something right. And my goal is to do it the right way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge. That's huge, man. Man, do you have anything to plug or to promote, for anybody that's watching or paying attention?
To plug or promote, man, I would love to shout out Aaron Akers one more time, man. There's something there's something special about having somebody in your corner like Aaron
Yeah.
that um he's very, how do I describe Aaron, man? He's very ordained by God to be who he is. Like
Mm,
he is who he is, and he's ordained by God to be who he is. And it's the most, when you got somebody like that in your corner. So shout out to Aaron, because I always say you're always you're one relationship, you're one friendship away from making a great connection somewhere that's going to pay off in the long end. And just having Aaron around has been great. And look, he's introduced us. He's introduced me to so many people, and having a support system like that. So I think because that's a mutual friend for us. One thing before I log off, I definitely just got to shout out Aaron. He's big up Aaron Akers, man. Big up Akes.
yeah, no, for sure. That is my, I don't even say little brother. Like, I mean, a year, but I mean, that's my brother for us. So everything you saying, I agree with tenfold, man. And he's
Yeah, because I mean,
man,
I wouldn't be on this podcast if it wasn't for him. Like
exactly.
he's the one that set it all up. So like I gotta show love when I get the opportunity. But
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it's a
Yeah,
good dude over there.
absolutely. No, amazing dude. Amazing, brother, man. But thank you so much for taking the time to come on
Yeah,
the
man. Thanks for
pod.
having me.
Of course, man. Glad that you had the opportunity just to tell your story, talk about what you do, talk about how you were able to get into it. And I definitely think that not even just, I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody that's like a student of the game will probably enjoy, like a lot of the different parts of the conversation. But I definitely think it's something to take away in general, just from the idea of perseverance and the idea of, figuring out how to stay around, something you're passionate about and, make it work for you. So yeah, thanks again, man, just for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. So
Yeah, man. Anytime, man.
of course. Well, this has been another great interview, full of gems. Definitely tap in with my boy. If you are in the basketball scene, you trying to get connected, whether that's as a player or whether that's as a trainer, definitely tap in with them. Other than that, man, just support. Like, ain't nothing wrong, with just supporting people in whatever they doing, even if it's not an industry that you tapped in. But yeah, like I feel like he gave y'all every reason to tap in. So go ahead and do that for me. But until next week and until the next interview, I'll catch y'all next time. Nate, thank you again, bro.
Yes,
Peace.
sir.